Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today I'll give you a bit of a description on how to sharpen a drill and give you a demo. A couple of weeks ago I sharpened a drill in one of my videos and had some questions in the comments about how do you do that and what's the technique. I learnt this when I was about 16. An old bloke taught me. I was an apprentice at the time, and he was about 60. He retired shortly after that, so I was left to carry on his knowledge. So I think it's high time I taught you guys. You can see right on the point there, or the maybe you can't. Right on the point here, you can see the edge is gone on this drill. It's not a drastic problem, but if you're drilling steel, it's going to make it harder than it needs to be. So I'll give you a demo on how to do that. I'll quickly go through some of the theory behind this and what our target is, so you know what you're aiming for. Here's a nice big drill that I'll just use to explain the different pieces of the cutting edges here and what's going on. The angle that we're looking for here is 118 degrees. That's the angle that you get when you buy these things from the shop. They're usually sharpened that way, and it's meant for sharpening, meant for drilling into steel. And you use the same angle most of the time. It's only rare that you need to change it. If you've got 118 degrees on the point of your drill up here, basically if you divide that by 2, you'll get 59 degrees on each side there. And with 90 degrees down the bottom here, if you take those 2 away from 180, which is all the angles inside a triangle, you end up with 31 degrees down here, or 121 degrees up there like that. You can get a protractor and set it to 121 degrees, and if you do that, you can then use that as a guide when you're sharpening your drill. You'll get one side like that, then the other side like that, and that way they both come out even. Alternatively, you can find drill gauge or sharpening gauges like this. I've seen them on eBay. I've had this thing for bloody years, but you can still get them on eBay. I think if you just Googled or searched for drill sharpening gauge, you'll spot one of these things. The actual concept that you're looking for, or the pieces that you want, is this is your cutting edge here, and it needs to sweep back down away from the cutting edge this way. So all of this back here is clearance. Nothing else touches from here down to there except for the cutting edge, and you want to get both cutting edges the same. That's your goal. And it's quite common when you first start that you'll get a high spot just about here, and you'll see when you try to use the drill that it rubs. And if you think about it, like a knife, like any kind of cutting implement, a chisel or whatever, the cutting edge got to be the piece that touches. If anything else touches, it's just going to rub. And you want to get them as equal as you can, so both sides have the same angle and are the same length. If the point is not in the middle, if you grind one side more than the other, you'll end up with the point a little bit off to one side. And what's going to happen then is, as the drill goes down, it'll make an eccentric path, and your drill will cut bigger than the diameter that you actually expect. So there's a little bit of a technique on the grinding wheel to get that shape and to get them all even. So that's enough chattering. I'll go over to the grinder now, and I'll show you how to grind up that shape. I'm just going to do it on an old, I think that's a 1/2-inch drill. These are the kind of drills you're likely to want to be sharpening when you first start getting into it. It's basically the biggest drill you get in a standard kind of drill set. Like anything, your grinder can become blunt. Basically what happens is the little edges of these grits here break off or become glazed over. You can also get material wedged in amongst the grit there. If you're trying to grind soft aluminium or some other thing like that you shouldn't really be grinding, you need to sharpen your wheel as well. I've forgotten what the grit is on this wheel, but it's a fairly fine one. So what you can use is one of these. This is called a carborundum dressing stick. They're really hard. You buy one of these, it'll last you for the rest of your life. What you want to get is a nice flat surface on your wheel, and no gouges or grooves or anything like that. So with my safety glasses on, let's dress the wheel up. What we want is a nice flat surface with no grooves or gouges in it. If you look down in there now, you can see that's pretty smooth, pretty flat, and I've got nice square corners on the edges of the wheel there. You never grind on the sides of the wheel. That's the kids who don't know what they're doing. So anyway, that's ready to go. What you do is, when you're grinding on the edge up here, I've got the angle around this way to match the 118 that I want. So you just come down slowly until you just see the sparks coming over the edge of where it cuts, and you stay up above the center line of the wheel. That way that the curve of the wheel helps you develop the clearance that you need. So just come down. There are the sparks, and then go back up again like that. And you end up with one smooth surface. I've got a few steps there. As you practice this, you end up with a nice smooth surface there, so it looks like you know what you're doing. Then we'll just change to the other side. And it doesn't hurt if you move across a little bit as you're doing it. That'll save you digging a groove into the wheel. And if you keep your hands in basically the same position as you do each side, that'll help you get the angles the same. Then you can have a look at it from the side and see how your clearance is. You don't want to take too much clearance, or that weakens the cutting edge and it can chip away. I've just got my hand on the tool rest here so as not to get too much wobbling around. If I was trying to freehand it, you need some support there. So once I've got it looking nice, I'm just looking at the clearance there to see that the cutting edge is actually the highest point. There might be a little spot here that's a little bit too high. When the old bloke taught me, he basically said, watch this and do what I do. Only he swore a lot more when he said it. So I think that's pretty close. What we'll do now, just turn that off before I accidentally bump it while I'm describing this to you. If we've got our protractor here, you should be able to hold that against the, get you in frame there, hold that against the edge down here and just move it up until it touches the angle part there. Now they don't need to be exactly 118 degrees, but what will happen is the closer you, as long as they're both the same, but the closer you get it, the better off you're going to be. Either by luck or good management, that's pretty close. I can't really see any difference between that one and that one. And if you look at these graduations up here, it doesn't matter what they are. These are millimetres, but it doesn't really matter. We want to measure up to where the point is there. So it's 1 before the 5. So it's up to the 4th mark in there. And if I change to the other side, that's up to the 4th mark as well, maybe a fraction past it. you can look pretty close at it. That means the point's in the middle. No, they look about the same. So I've got it pretty close there. Whether my clearance there is going to do exactly what we want, you don't really know until you're going to give it a try. So we'll give that a drill into something now and see what happens. It's basically the same thing. If you're using the store-bought gauge, you can see there that's pretty close. It's up to the points at about the 9 there, to the other side. Up to the 9, so that's pretty good. This is a 13 millimeter drill, so I'll get a piece of scrap steel, drill a hole in it, and we'll measure it and see how close we are to 13 mil. I'll just do the same again, which is basically the over the shoulder view. Might not be as good because the camera's in the way, but let's give it a go. So you can come down until you see the spark coming over the edge, and then go back up again. So we're doing it like that. We've got a pretty even surface there. I don't know whether you can see the reflection on that. So it's a bit of a nice sweeping angle that goes down. So you start off high, come down like this, and the same on the other side. So both of them come out with the same angle. Alright, now we can go over to the drill. I always like to drill a little pilot hole before I put my main drop size drill through. That always helps get a more accurate size. If you look at the point of the drill, that little thing there in the middle, that is like a little straight line across the tooth, that's called the web. And that little bit pushes through the metal. There's no cutting there at all. So if we put a smaller drill through first, at least as big as the web on the main drill that you want to use, it'll cut a better size. This is just a piece of mystery steel. There we go. Most drills you'll be able to tell what speed you're getting. If not, you can look up your user manual that came with the drill. If I want 600 and whatever I said, I got it between 500 and 700. So I'll just put the belts in that pattern up on the head there, and we'll have somewhere around there. I think I'll go with the 500 speed. So that'll be in the BE position. So E is on the motor end, the top position, and the B is one below it. Bit of oil. So if I got this right, I'll get 2 chips coming out of there like that. So I'll just see if I can stop it and see what the chips look like. So I can see one there, the other one's still there as well. It's not as big, but that's cutting reasonably even. If you haven't got it sharpened properly, it'll only cut on one flute. So I'll just go right through there now, and I'll measure the hole when I'm done. See how he went for 13 mil. That cut nicely without any problems. Just get that out of my way. Give it a bit of a wipe off. Don't want to measure the swarf. Just get a nice feel on that. Don't want to cheat myself. Now if you can read a vernier, you can see the 13mm mark lines up there. The 0.2 mark past that is to the left of it, and if we look down the other end here, that the last mark there looks bang on as well. So I think we're within 0.2 of a millimetre or 0.02 of a millimetre, or about 1/1000. So that's cut really good. I'm happy with that. If we, I don't know whether I can do it with this. You'll see if there's any slack. Can't wind you there without hitting you in the leg. You'll feel any slack, there's a tiny bit, but I think that's pretty close and good enough. Without me wiping the end of the drill, if that was rubbing anywhere, you'd see a build-up back on the clearance part of the cutting edge, and there's nothing piled up there. The edges all feel good still. So I reckon that's a success. There's one other tip I'll share with you for sharpening bigger drills. This is a shop-built tool I made a while back. It's got a point in the end there, which I turn to 30 degrees, but you can make that anything really. What I'm looking for is to get it to go. Bigger drills all have a center in the back of them here. What you do is you put that center in that point there, and you use it to make a mark, only just big enough for this drill, and you scratch a mark on this here. It's only been blued up with marking dye. You can do a Sharpie or whatever you like, and you see there that made a mark on the blue there. Just turn it around to the other edge, do another mark, and if both the lines come out exactly right, you know you've got the points at the same height. I'll give you a close look at those two lines. You can see, if it'll focus, even that shop-bought drill, the lines aren't exactly the same. They're not quite level. So you can do a better job than what the blokes in China did. I was really disappointed with that set of drills. Some of them were bent when I bought them. It was just a bit of a joke really. But anyway, that's another story. That's just what you can use as a shop-made sharpening guide. It just helps you get both the points right at the same height. Alright guys, I think that's probably all I know about sharpening drills. Hope that helped you a little bit. If you like seeing this kind of stuff, or if you have any questions, drop us a comment below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. You know I can't really see you.